I was still in shock, standing in the cold hallway of Kumasi General Hospital. The doctor had just told me I'd lost the baby. My legs felt like they would give out, and my heart was breaking into pieces I couldn't gather. I turned to Kweku, hoping for a hug, a tear, even a kind word, but he didn't even look at me. He was scrolling on his phone, smiling at something. Then, without emotion, he muttered, "You're too weak to carry my legacy anyway." My breath caught. I thought I had misheard. But no, he meant it. In that moment, I realized the baby wasn't the only thing I had lost. I had lost the man I loved, the future I dreamed of, and the little hope I still held in my chest. He didn't touch my shoulder. He didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't care. And something inside me broke, not from the miscarriage, but from his cruelty. I had loved him blindly. I thought we were building a life together. But I was just a tool to him, someone to carry his name forward. I wiped my tears, not because I was strong, but because I knew I had to become strong. In that moment, I promised myself I'd never forget how he looked at me, like I was nothing. That day, my world crumbled. But I also started picking up the pieces, without him. One quiet evening, after everyone in the house had eaten and gone to their rooms, Namboka stayed in the kitchen a little longer to finish her work. As always, she kept a folded piece of paper in her pocket. It was a story she had written the night before, one that had come to her in a dream. She had written it on the back of an old grocery list with a pen that barely worked. Her heart was in every word, but she had no place to keep it safe. Later, when she swept the floor and emptied the trash bin, the paper slipped from her pocket without her noticing. It landed quietly among food wrappers and torn plastic bags. The next morning, Aiken, the employer's teenage daughter, was looking through the trash for a craft project. Her hand stopped when she saw the crumpled paper. Curious, she opened it and began to read. At first, she didn't think much of it. But as her eyes moved from one line to the next, she became completely still. The story was about a girl who felt invisible, who worked all day but was never seen, yet still dreamed of being a writer. Aiken read it twice. Her heart felt heavy, and her throat was tight. She had never read anything so honest, so raw. She didn't laugh. She didn't mock. Instead, she took a photo of the story and typed out the words into a storytelling website she followed. She didn't even tell her parents. She used the name Silent Soul and pressed publish. By the time she woke up the next day, something unbelievable had happened. The story had spread like fire. Thousands of people had read it. Hundreds had left comments. Some said they cried. Others said they felt like someone had finally put their own pain into words. There were shares on social media, messages from people in different countries, and people writing things like, "This story feels like a hug I didn't know I needed." Aiken scrolled through the comments again and again, her hands shaking. And then she saw one comment that made her eyes fill with tears. It said, "I'd buy you 100 coffees if I could. You saved my life." That one comment was shared more than any other. People made art out of it. They made quotes and videos with soft music in the background, reading lines from the story aloud. Aiken sat in her room, phone in her hand, not knowing what to do. She wanted to tell Namboka right away, but she was scared her parents would be angry, or that Namboka might get in trouble. Still, deep down, she felt proud. She had helped something special reach the world. She had helped give a voice to someone who never had one. She didn't know how or when to tell Namboka the truth. But what she did know was this: the world had finally heard the quiet maid's voice. And they didn't just listen. They felt every word. For weeks, I stayed quiet. I played my part. I cooked his meals, smiled when he walked in, acted like everything was fine. I let him believe I was still the same woman, the one who forgave, who stayed, who kept hoping he would change. But inside, something had shifted. I was no longer that woman. I was watching, listening, waiting. Every time his phone buzzed, I paid attention. Every time he stepped outside to take a call, I remembered the time. I noticed things, new colognes, late nights, changed passwords. I didn't fight. I didn't shout. I played the fool, yes, but only once. While he thought I was too broken to notice, I was collecting. Little things. Quiet things. A screenshot here. A suspicious message there. Receipts that didn't match the lies he told me. Bit by bit, the truth began to build itself in front of me. And it always came back to her, his so-called friend. The one who smiled too hard when she saw me. The one who always stayed a little too long when she visited. The one whose perfume stayed in the hallway long after she left. Then one evening, as I was cleaning the sofa, I found it, a single hair. Long curly. Definitely not mine. It was tucked between the cushions, right where he liked to sit when she came over to talk. My heart didn't race this time. I didn't cry. I just stared at it for a moment and placed it carefully in an envelope with the rest of my collection. That hair wasn't just a strand, it was the last piece of the puzzle. He thought I didn't know. That I was too soft. That I would stay no matter what. But while he was busy lying, I was preparing. I had enough proof to destroy every excuse, every fake story, every denial. But I didn't rush. I didn't confront him right away. No, I wanted the timing to be perfect. I wanted him to see what it feels like when someone flips the script. I continued to play my role. I served him dinner. I kissed him goodbye when he left. I even asked him how his friend was doing. Pretending I didn't know she was the woman he was sneaking around with. He laughed. He really thought he had fooled me. But the truth was, I had already won. Because I was no longer the desperate woman begging for love. I was the woman standing at the edge of her freedom, holding all the evidence of betrayal in her hand. That's the thing about pretending to be the fool, it gives people the confidence to show their true colors. And Kweku? He showed me exactly who he was. And I let him, just long enough to gather everything I needed. Because once I was done, there would be no screaming match, no second chances. Just silence, and the sound of a door closing behind me. The day the results came back from the lab in Accra, I already knew deep down what they would say. But still, my hands were shaking as I held the envelope. Not from sadness, not this time. It was something else. Something closer to relief. Maybe even quiet victory. I had waited weeks for this moment, moving through each day like nothing was wrong. I smiled, I cooked, I listened to Kweku boast about his first son, the boy he always talked about with so much pride. He's my blood, he used to say, like that gave him power. Like that gave him the right to look down on me. Every time he brought up that child, he made sure to remind me that I had failed to give him one. He made comparisons I never asked for. He made jokes that weren't funny. But now, everything was about to change. I sat down, slowly opened the envelope, and pulled out the papers. My eyes scanned the lines, the names, the DNA markers I didn't fully understand, and then the words jumped out at me. Probability of paternity, 0%. Just like that. Cold. Clear. Final. Kweku wasn't the father. The boy he always used as a weapon against me, wasn't his to begin with. I laughed. Not loudly, not with joy. It was quiet, almost bitter. After everything he did to me, after the way he called me faulty, after the way he turned my pain into a joke, this truth felt like justice. He had walked around with pride that was never real. He had looked me in the eye and made me feel less than, while holding on to a lie. I thought about all the times he showed off photos of the child, told people how his son would carry his legacy. And now? That legacy wasn't even his. I thought about the other woman, the child's mother, how smug she always looked. Maybe she didn't even know, or maybe she did. Maybe she played him the same way he tried to play me. Either way, the truth was now mine, and I planned to use it well. I didn't scream. I didn't confront him right away. I folded the paper neatly, placed it back in the envelope, and slipped it into my bag. I wanted the reveal to be unforgettable. Not out of anger, but out of clarity. I wanted him to see the truth the same way I did. Written. Undeniable. Cold as the silence he gave me when I needed him most. This test didn't just expose the truth about the child. It exposed everything. Who Kweku really was. What our relationship had become. The lies. The pride. The betrayal. All of it. And with that paper in my hand, I felt a weight lift off me, not because the pain was gone, but because I finally held the truth. And truth has power. It may not heal everything, but it makes the next step very clear. And I was ready to take that step, with no regrets. I waited for the right moment. Not out of cruelty, but because I wanted the truth to hit exactly where it should, right in the middle of his pride. Kweku had invited some friends over that evening, as usual. He liked to show off, laugh loudly, brag about his life like it was perfect. He sat on the couch, laughing with a drink in his hand, telling the same old stories about his first son, acting like the proud father, the man with a legacy. And I stood there, watching him perform. Calm. Silent. Ready. When the room got a little quieter, I walked over and handed him the envelope. Just like that. No drama. No warning. He looked at me, a bit confused, still smirking like everything was a joke. "What's this?" he asked. I didn't answer. I just stood there and watched. He opened it slowly, still smiling, like I was giving him some sweet little letter. But the moment his eyes landed on the paper, everything changed. The smile disappeared. His fingers froze. His face went pale, like the blood had drained out of him. He looked up at me, and I saw it, the panic. The fear. The confusion. All the lies he had wrapped himself in were unraveling right there in front of his friends. And I leaned in just a little and asked, quietly, "Do you still find this funny, Kweku?" The room went silent. His friends looked around awkwardly, unsure whether to speak or stay frozen. No one dared to laugh this time. Kweku tried to say something, but no words came out. Just stuttering. Just shame. He held the paper like it was burning in his hands, like it had destroyed everything he thought he had control over. He looked around for support, but there was none. His pride, the thing he used like a weapon against me, was now working against him. Everything he built on lies was crumbling. That child he bragged about. Not his. The story he told over and over. A lie. And the woman he called weak. I was the one holding the truth. I stood tall, not with revenge, but with peace. I didn't need to shout. I didn't need to explain. The paper did all the talking. Kweku knew it. His friends knew it. And more importantly, I knew it. He followed me to the kitchen a few minutes later, whispering my name, trying to explain, to backpedal. But I didn't turn around. I didn't need to hear a single excuse. He had his moment. He used it to humiliate me, to make jokes, to feed his ego. Now it was my turn to be silent, and silence hurt him more than any words ever could. That night, I didn't celebrate. I didn't cry either. I just felt free. I had returned his laughter with truth. His pride with reality. His lies with proof. And now, he had to live with it. Not me. I woke up early the next morning, just before the sun rose. The house was silent, but it felt heavy, like the walls had finally heard the truth too. I moved quietly, slowly, packing the few things I had. It wasn't much. A few clothes, my documents, a photo of my late mother, and the necklace she gave me when I turned 18. That was all. But I didn't feel poor. I didn't feel small. Because what I was really taking with me couldn't fit in a bag, I was carrying my dignity, my peace, and my power. Kweku was still asleep when I closed the door to our bedroom. I didn't bother waking him. He had already lost me long before that moment. What I gave him last night, the truth about the child he thought was his, had shaken the ground beneath him. I had seen it in his eyes, in the way he couldn't even speak. His pride was shattered, and there was no lie left to hide behind. Now, he had to sit with the truth. Alone. I looked around the living room one last time. It used to be my prison, filled with silence, pain, and fake smiles. But not anymore. I took a deep breath and walked out, not rushing, not looking back. Each step felt like a release, like I was finally walking toward myself again. Toward the version of me that didn't beg for love, didn't stay where she wasn't respected, didn't carry shame that wasn't hers to begin with. People think strength looks like shouting or slamming doors. But sometimes, it's just quiet footsteps at dawn, a packed bag, and a heart that refuses to stay broken. That's what I gave myself, freedom. I didn't leave with anger. I left with clarity. I left knowing I had done everything I could, stayed longer than I should have, and walked away with everything that truly mattered, my self-respect and the courage to start over. Kweku could keep the house, the fake stories, the people who believed his lies. He could keep the pride that had turned into dust. And most of all, he could keep the silence I left behind. The kind that echoes louder than screams. I knew it would eat him alive. I didn't leave him to punish him. I left because I finally realized I deserved more. I deserved softness, truth, real love. Not manipulation. Not games. Not a man who smiled while I cried. So I walked away from his ruins, not because I was heartless, but because I had finally found my heart again. And as I stepped into the morning light, the air felt different, lighter, warmer. I had nothing, and yet I felt rich. Because for the first time in a long time, I belonged to myself. No more lies. No more pain. Just me, whole, free, and finally on the road to healing. Now he calls like clockwork. Morning, afternoon, night, sometimes all three. He doesn't even hide his number anymore. It's always him. And I always know what he wants to say. I'm sorry. Please just hear me out. I didn't mean it. But I don't pick up. I just let it ring. His voicemails sit there, stacking up like unanswered prayers. I don't listen to them anymore. I used to, in the beginning, just out of curiosity. But now, I don't need to. Because nothing he says will change the past. There was a time I would have done anything just to hear him say sorry. Back then, I would have clung to a single kind word like it was a lifeline. But that time is over. He's the one crying now, the one breaking, the one begging for another chance. And me? I don't feel anything. No pain. No sadness. No guilt. Just calm. Just peace. Sometimes, even a little laughter. Because the man who once made fun of my tears now drowns in his own, and I won't throw him a rope. He thought I would stay broken forever. That I'd keep loving him through the pain, the lies, the disrespect. But I healed. Quietly, slowly, and without him. And now that he wants me back, he finds nothing waiting for him, not anger, not love, not even hate. Just silence. That's all I owe him. He carries the weight of what he did. And he will carry it alone. I've let go. I've moved on. And I don't flinch anymore.